where everything is awesome. And you know what's really awesome is the Wheel of Time. We love the Wheel of Time here at Miss Martin Muses. Yes, we do, precious. And someone else who has opinions on the Wheel of Time and has been reading the Wheel of Time also like me for the first time, though I finished, is none other than Brian slash Lord Poriel. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses again.
Well, thanks for having me. I know I finished Knife of Dreams a while, like a few weeks, like 2 to 3 weeks back, but you weren't available, and then you ended up being on vacation, and I ended up being on vacation, so we finally get to do this today. So,
Yay.
the Knife of Dreams. We got there's plenty to talk about. A lot of plot points. Finally, get some sort of resolution after 3 to 4 books.
Yeah. I am so glad I didn't have to wait months or even years between these like some people did. I think I would have gone crazy.
Yeah, like especially a lot of the plot points started in Path of Daggers. Path of Daggers came out 7 years before this book. So it's almost
Wow.
it's but compared to waiting for Feast, compared to waiting for, like, if you've read, I don't know if I think you still said you haven't read A Song of Ice and Fire. Imagine Feast for Crows, the Samwell chapters, the final Samwell chapter in Old Town ends on a cliffhanger, and that came out in 2005, and that was not addressed in Dance with Dragons, and so it's been 20. The kids born that year are drinking age.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've heard about that. Well, yeah, of course,
Yeah.
we all know that we're completely judgmental, absolutely, of Martin for that because Jordan, his excuse was he sadly, passed away. And this is the last book that he wrote. But before we get into that, I want to say hello. Thank you, Sort of Poopus Cooper, for being here. Hello, humans and other critters. We love our animals here at Miss Martin Muses. And thank you for being a muser of House Rose and a Sorn Sword. And we have Steve Kenobi, who is saying hello, Teresa and Nerdy. Hope both of you are well. We have the Man Cave Inc. Hello, saying hi, doing flying visit. Okay, thank you for being here. Definitely appreciate that. And Steek says, book 8 had just come out when I was getting into Wheel of Time. Had to wait for every book after that. So you had to quick.
1998. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And of course, I just went right into them because by this point in my reading, I was just, okay, that's it. I was just booming through these books until I got to the very end. So I didn't have to wait at all. I could just go between them. So lucky me. But yeah, wow. I was really sad when I got to the end of this book because even though I thought that Brandon Sanderson did a solid job, I mean, I think he did as good as anyone could in finishing up the Wheel of Time and the way he did, no complaints whatsoever. I was very aware as I was reaching the end of this that this was the last completed book that Robert Jordan did. So I had a little bit of melancholy, and I remember almost being reluctant to finish it, but I'm like, I gotta finish it because I want to continue with the story. But also it was exciting toward the end for me. I thought that, well, first of all, things were getting done. It was no more hemming and hawing, no more waiting to the next book. There was a lot of things that were resolved.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this book 11. I mean, so yeah, we'll definitely get into that. I kind of went, so I finished Crossroads of Twilight. I knew exactly what to expect, but that book did take me 9 months to read because I just wasn't really interested in the chapters, so I just kept putting it to the side. So, but yeah, I pushed myself to finished it, and then I went right into Knife of Dreams because I really wanted to see how a lot of these plot lines, especially the chapter Crimson Thorn from Path of Daggers. That's the one where Adelaus, one of the two twin elder Aes Sedai, gets murdered. Gets murdered along with a dark friend. That was a big thing. That was a pretty brutal thing for Robert Jordan, and also that crazy death. Remember they showed the death of the questioner guy that we first meet in the Great Hunt, Jacob Carradine.
Mm-hmm.
He gets hogtied, and then they have like a block in his mouth, and they pour brandy into it, and they basically drown him. And that's the same woman, the woman that was running that same dark friend that all the way back in Eye of the World was the dark friend that tried to attack Matt in the barn. on when they're on their way to Camelin, and
Mhm.
Matt's able to basically get the drop on her and lock her in the barn and save Rand, because Rand was going through the sickness, because he channeled in that um, dancing Cartman inn, where they were literally cornered by dark friends. There was this one high level dark friend that came with his men, and they cornered him, and Rand just channeled lightning and destroyed the room,
Mhm.
killing all of them. And then they flee, and then the end of that chapter, they flee into the rainy night. It was a good chapter. But
Mhm.
it was that same dark friend. It was that same dark friend
Mhm.
that was there. And so like I said, reason why a lot of people love this is love the series is because RJ, connects everything. Even later books connects, brings. There are certain times where I wish other characters came back, but surprisingly he brought her back, and
Mhm.
he brought Millie Skane back for that. Now she's Lady Sheehan or whatever, and we see what happens to her in this book. Um,
Mhm.
and then if you remember, there was another character. I think his name was Peter. He was the one in the Eye of the World that goes right up to Rand and Matt. Also, while they're alone, they're separated from Tom. They're separated from everybody else. They're in this town. He's like, "Hey, I got something to tell you." And they're like, And they're like, "Get the f away from me! Just get away! I know what you are. Get away from me!" It's like, "Are you sure?"
Mhm.
And then it was that same dark friend that we see him again in Lord of Chaos, and we see him trying to be friends with like more gays and her party, Leanie and Talonvor and all of them. And then he ends up being caught because, like you said, they were caught doing a Dark Friend ritual right under the noses of the White Cloaks and Amadisia. So,
Mhm.
so that character gets hung in Lord of Chaos. So it was interesting how you bring back certain characters out of nowhere. I'm like, and when I'm reading this, I'm like, who is this? Like every time he introduces a new character, at least to me when I'm reading it, or a character either it's a character I completely forgot about, or
Mhm.
it's a new character, and I have to check whether this is a character. I feel the compulsion. Maybe it's a Forsaken compulsion, who knows? But I feel the
Mhm.
compulsion to check if this character appeared earlier, because a lot of times they do, especially at this stage of the series.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you how many times you've said, "Hey, and did you catch this or something?" And I'm like, "No." And then it turns out exactly what you said. It was something from the second book, and I'm on book 9 at this point. And I maybe one day we'll do a reread. I almost started one, and then things happened, and then I got into some other books. But I think that if I reread, I've been told several times that it will come into play like a lot of the puzzle pieces. And if I had been one of those that had to wait a few years or between books, that I would have done a reread like many people did, and so maybe catch some of those. But yeah, it's crazy. And we do know that Brandon Sanderson got so many notes from Robert Jordan's, and we can see why, because
I,
maybe,
I,
and he
I,
has wife to help him.
I think they said 10,000 pages. Yeah,
Yeah.
like tens of thousands of pages. Maybe Stig knows but more. Um,
Yeah.
that between that, of course, Robert Jordan's widow, Harriet McDougall, and of course RJ. I think had two assistants, and I
Mhm.
think he had someone. I think he had someone to help him with continuity and with
Yes.
who is this character and all that. I think Martin has the same thing with Elio and what's her name, Linda Addison, that helped him with the the World of Ice and Fire. Like he regularly corresponds with them whenever it comes to a character he's either forgotten about, because I mean you build something so big. I mean, you are bound to forget stuff. Like I know I would if I was in that position. If I was writing something, I'd
Mhm.
forget details myself.
Precisely, and I would
Unless I was Data from Star Trek: The Next Generation, just
yes, but
remembers
that would mean you
everything.
weren't human.
Exactly.
Yeah, and of course, if I had the money these people had, hell yes, I'd be doing hiring people. I mean, I'm a firm believer in outsourcing. So, yeah, that's wild. Uh, as always, he always starts off with a prologue, and the prologue has a Galad, and oh my gosh, shit really happens here. I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
we haven't seen him, and I was asking Dane about this when we were doing our our stream, we haven't seen Galad since the Fires of Heaven, since the introduction of the introduction of the prophet. The first time we see Messima as the prophet in that one city. I forget the name of the city. It's the Nynaeve chapter, and I compared Messima to Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, or or the villain from Heart of Darkness, Joseph Conrad and all that. At least that was the impression I got. I'm sure people would disagree with me on that, but yeah, we haven't seen him since that book, and he was pursuing Elaine in that book for a while. He was already with the White Cloaks. That book explained where Galad was during when the schism in the White Tower happened, because we only see Gawain. Gawain's the only one that's accounted for, and Gawain is the one that does the devil's work. He turns on on those loyal to Suan, and ends up siding with Elida, because Suan and her, all that politicking and not telling him where Elaine was, sending Elaine on all those missions, kind of led him to that conclusion. So we haven't seen Galad at all since that book. So we were wondering, like, he was in Lord of Chaos and in Crown of Swords, when Morghese was just like kind of on the run. She flees from Raven. And then gets caught by the White Cloaks, and then flees from the White Cloaks. When the Shan Chan take over, now she's a captive again of the Shido.
Yes,
it's a rough ride, and that whole time with Galad is just not there. Galad is off on assignment. So Galad finally comes back, and I mean this was a plot point from Crown of Swords. Morghese reflects. We don't actually see it. We don't actually see it happening in person. This is her kind of reflecting on it, on her being coerced into stuff by Eamon Valda. And then of course this is where this all comes to a head, and Galad finds out about it through Dane Bornhald, and Dane Bornhald found out about it through Bayer, Jared Bayer and all that. And they're going in to demand trial by combat, or no, trial of the light. So yeah, this was a very interesting thing to.
I thought it was awesome.
Start with him. It was.
Yeah.
So we got to see all of Robert Jordan's. What do you call those? What do you call that term? Where he describes something, but in terms of like animals moving. I forget what that literary device is called.
Oh.
Where like the parting of the parting of the silk, or the one I make fun of from the show is the cuckoo flies over the nest or something.
Are you talking about Deus? You're not talking about Deus Ex Machina, no?
Because how Robert Jordan writes. How he writes his duel scenes, and he uses like animals.
I see. Okay, then I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So. Which is how he describes. He doesn't. So it kind of leaves it leaves the combat to the viewer, or to the reader's imagination in a way. Or at least you're trying to think of using like a bird swoops overhead or something. You're trying to think, how would that be like a sword move or something. So
gotcha.
I don't know.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh, for crying out loud! Yes. Okay.
I forget what that plot device is called.
Yeah. So help us out if anyone knows that. And hello, Joshua Templeton. Thank you for being here. And Salty Traveling Sea, thank you for being here and being a muser of House Rose and a sword. Roxanne, he's giving us the lyrics of Roxanne. Well, thank you. That sounds great.
Hey, Salty, don't stand so close to me. Just like in that book by Nabokov. Just like in that book by Nabokov. All right, sorry. Lolita.
No. Sorry. Oh, whoops. I thought this is I got the wrong copy of my book, but that's okay. I've got several copies of these. I've got them in softback and in hardback. So woo. Really did enjoy it.
Is it allegorical? I guess it is. So that's what Stig says. This is animal allegorical descriptions for combat moves.
Okay. Or anthropomorphical, maybe? Oh, hell, I don't know.
Anthropomorphic? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Creeper
not
Brian
quite.
confirmed. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
yeah, and there's a chat here in the chat because Stieg had pointed out that Tolkien also had Christopher Tolkien, his son, help him out, and that was indispensable when it came to putting together the Silmarillion. And yeah, and thank for also the post death stuff. So yes, indeed, and so thank you all for being here and doing that. Yeah, so I love trial by combat. It's fun. That's why I like it in football, soccer, when they have the shootouts, the penalty shootouts, because I always say that's our modern equivalent of trial by combat. And when he challenged this dude, well, first of all, he's like, dude, you murdered my mom. He doesn't realize that his mom is still alive, that Morghese is still alive. And then they have a duel, and he kills Valda and then becomes the King of the North. No, he becomes the Lord Commander of the Children of the Light. It is so awesome.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
Yes, it is.
So 2 thumbs up. He comes out of nowhere after being gone, and as you said, and then boom, just gives us this. I mean, there were so many things in this book that I just enjoyed for this reason, for no other. And then we realize later on in the book that he figures out that the Children of the Light that have to work with the Dragon Reborn, like that's not the enemy. That if they're going to win Tarmageddon, that they have to do that, but that's something later. And then we also in the prologue get Rodel Iturralde. I'm probably saying it wrong, and he's the Damani general, and he is just doing a bunch of fighting and stuff against the Shan Khan. And then we get Lady Saroth. They think that Tuon is gone, the missing and presumed dead, and it says what here? This is my notes. She's confronted. Simaraj is there, and she's like, I assassinated the Shan Khan Empress and most of the imperial family, and she didn't kill Tuon. And so now there's chaos, because that's another theme, is that the bad guys are throwing things into chaos, which is going to get to the very last line, but we haven't.
Let the Lord of Chaos
rule or reign. Yeah, exactly. Yes, you would probably know it better than I am, because, well, you've had the benefit of doing some of your reviews with people that have read the books 1,000 times, and for us, for these, we're trying to do it book by book, so I'm no longer blind since I finished the series, because when I was doing these before, I was blind, but still, I'm definitely far from being an expert. And they're talking about other stuff. And Galad says, Galad is kind of a stereotypical Paladin character, kind of, effing keyboard. Yeah. And he's not acting in, maybe not because he's not acting in faith, but act upon a moral code, which makes him more of a knight. Either one, fine. It's just a way of thinking about the characters. So anyway, so I'm all in favor of chaos, and I'm very well aware of the whole idea of chaos, which you have in spiritual warfare in my religion. And that's something to be aware of, is that whenever there is confusion and dissensions and just all hell breaking loose, one could argue even in our world, that is not the power of the good side. That's the power of the bad side, the dark side. And so you see them, just the bad guys are all for chaos, while the people of the light, and I like it, the Children of the Light, that term in itself is not a problem, because you want to be on the light side, but it means something different in context with the White Cloaks. However, the people of the light are the people that are bringing about, chaos, balance, cohesion, working together rather than working apart. And of course, everyone left and right is hooking up, falling in love, getting married, getting bonded, or whatever the heck. And of course, Rand takes that to a whole other level. He does it he's threefold the love. But
I mean, like he's the guy. That's why three women are willing to share him, basically.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Me personally, I wouldn't do that. But hey, no judgment. As long as everyone's okay with it, I guess, why not? But I don't care what anyone says. Eventually, they would have all been jealous of each other. But
I mean,
this,
Elaine was already showing signs of it. That's why. When in book. That's why when in was it Winter's Heart.
oh,
It was when in Winter's Heart, she finds Rand in the palace. She's like, you're not getting away from me. You're gonna help me undress. You're gonna help me
yeah.
undress my dress. And then, of course, they do the thing, and then she's pregnant with twins. So, um, yeah. So what happened to her? I was a little concerned. There was a little bit of, even though I don't really like the Elaine character that much. I was, because of the fact that she was pregnant made her more vulnerable, and so I was actually really worried about the character because of that. Even though, and then the thing, and this is something Dane brings up, that Dane brought up in my stream, was that Elaine, because of the fact that she will find out that the children will be fine or something like that.
Yes.
She starts acting the fool.
Yes, like in Egypt.
She's like, "Oh, I'm invulnerable, blah blah blah, or I'm invincible or whatever," and it's just, I don't know.
Now, that's why you should never learn the future. Well, thank you, Stig. 3 women equals triple the nagging, but I guess your laundry would always be cleaned. And the dishes. Joshua, I just realized I'm sorry, I didn't I didn't register the second part. So you have not read Sanderson's 3 books from the Wheel of Time. So you technically don't know the ending, or maybe you know the ending and haven't read them. So that's
who me?
interesting.
Wait, who me?
Joshua Templeton.
Oh.
Yeah, when I originally I thought he was talking about the Stormlight Archives with 3 books, but it's talking about Sanderson's 3 books. So I apologize for not registering that. But the line that Elaine said, which definitely sounded like jealousy, was she said, "They've had something I haven't had." And it was like, okay, so yes,
yeah,
so you're right. They're getting there. It's like they've gotten to do the nasty with you. I have not. And
every time she complains about Rand, not like Rand putting those babies in her, I just couldn't help but think of that old Bill Cosby joke where he talks about his wife being pregnant and saying all the mean things she does when she's having her kids to him. Like, you said my mother and father weren't married. If you get that one, call him a bastard.
Oh, gotcha. A nice way of saying that. Yeah. Okay. I've never heard all those old ones. I never saw a lot of his stand up, and then we get to the White Tower, where there are Red Aja sisters, Pavera, and they've got the whole idea of bonding the Ashaman as warders. So everyone's got this idea. So the good Aes Sedai and the rebel Aes Sedai, or it depends on what your point of view, who is the legitimate Aes Sedai, but both of them are looking at channeling them as warders. And you have Egwene, who has been captured, and she refuses to be rescued because she feels like she can work from within. So in a way, she's doing her own little version of chaos, but for the good side. So she's trying to, through taking her punishment, through being obedient, even though technically she is the head of the whole order, technically, I guess, from a certain point of view, because Aleda is illegitimate. He sorts this out later. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to know that he is going to reconcile this whole issue of the divided Aes Sedai. But at this point, Elaine is being forced to be not Elaine, sorry, Egwene is forced to be a novice.
Yeah.
And gradually winning people over. So, woo.
Yeah, she gets beaten a lot in this. She gets penance quite a bit, like 3 times a day, like right before each meal. So yeah, lots of beating, lots of like just lots of like, oh, I am the Amaryllis seed. Elida's responsible for this. Elida's responsible for that. So it's just basically her, just creating dissent, trying to create dissent, and fighting, basically fighting without fighting, or something. I guess I don't know.
Yes, exactly. Well, using womanly backstabbing to get things done. And in this case, I guess it works for the good. Um, and we see a lot of use of Rod or the dream world, that is where the hall of the tower is going to meet. So they can meet up when they're in the dreams. And it doesn't help that everyone has the name L. So we got Elaine and Leanne are captured, and Lelaine back with the rest of the Aes Sedai, the Swan San, rather, Thrawn Sanche, she wants to position herself, I guess, to become the Amerlin seat. So,
Yeah,
backstabber.
yeah. So they figure out. You're talking about Romanda and Lee Lane, the two, you know, the two heads, the two sitters that are kind of that tried to pull the strings and failed with Egwene. Well,
Hmm.
they figure out that after when they get a visit by one of the Ashaman, um,
Hmm.
Narishma and his, I forget his, what's her name, the one that uh, his or not his, but another character's bond. And they find out this is going back to Winter's Heart, the end where they're cleansing Sidene, and when all the various Forsaken pop out of nowhere and start attacking the different groups. Well, um, they figure out that Halima is actually Erengar, based on the fact that they knew that she was casting Sidene.
Mm, yes.
And because like there's a woman that just pops up out of nowhere, and then she's casting Sidene, and that's what confused everybody, and that's what led to the death of young Ashaman Eben Hopwell, if I remember. Yeah,
Hmm.
Eben Hopwell. I got the notes right here. So, um, and then
Oh,
yeah, and then Romanda puts it together, and then she's like, okay, we arrest them, and then they're like, oh, they're gone. So all right, well, I guess I gotta wait. I guess I gotta wait another book or two before that gets fully resolved. But at least they finally figured it out. That was going on since book 6.
yes, it was,
Halima,
wasn't it?
Halima, yeah, Halima. I mean, the whole it started with Summer. Believe it or not, it once again ties back to Semiraj back in Lord of Chaos. Semiraj was torturing this one Aes Sedai and her warder, and that Aes Sedai, um, we find that the Halima basically just shows up, says, "Oh, I was the assistant of this Aes Sedai who was missing or something like that," and so yeah, and that's how they put two and two together. So.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
she's connected. That one that Aes Sedai that got that Aes Sedai that got killed in Lord of Chaos, that got tortured by Semiraj, was connected to the other two that get murdered. So Anaya gets murdered, and another Aes Sedai gets murdered, and those three were connected. And that's how they figured it out. That's how they figured out the whole mystery of why were these two in particular murdered.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. What you said. It's so complicated. I feel like I need to have one of those things like on those conspiracy theorist walls, with all these little sticky and all that. Actually, I think isn't there a YouTuber that does that with Wheel of Time? I think maybe, but I digress. It might have been someone connected with the TV show, so which doesn't count.
no,
I
it does.
Oh man, the further along I was reading this and just knowing what they were doing on the TV show, I remember thinking there there's just no way. Like, how were they going to end? Like, what was their outline for the rest of the show? Because they kill off so many major characters and they change major characters.
Yeah, they killed Suwan. So instead
Yeah.
of they season 3 adapts the Shadow Rising, even though it completely skips the Dragon Reborn,
Mhm.
adapts the Shadow Rising, and has and they bring in like Elida and Alviarin and all that, and they decapitate Suwan
Mhm.
instead of just stilling her. They they kill her, and
Yeah.
they kill her. They kill freaking. Did you know that they killed Loyal at the end of season 3?
Yeah, again. But you see, since they always kill him and bring him back to life in the next season, that I was thinking that maybe they weren't going to do that.
Well, so in season 1, he gets stabbed in the chest, and there's no explanation why he's alive. Like we had a few of us had ideas like, oh, he had a book in his pocket, and that's what saved him. Basically it was a James Bond type of thing where
Yeah.
he gets stabbed, and oh, he's lucky because he had a book in his a book in his pocket. Same idea, or but this time he falls in the ways.
Yeah.
Like they're in the ways, they're trying to close the gate, and he falls, and it does the slow motion and all that. I'm like, he's either dead or he's gonna land and tell Iran Riyadh. But then they canceled the show, so he's dead.
Yeah. Well, they're all they're all dead.
Speaking of Loyal,
Yes.
I loved his part in this book. I loved his wedding. I like that. Like what's funny is, I mean, what's funny is already Nynaeve and Land got married. I barely care about that. Maybe it's because I didn't see it, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I forget that they're married.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and honestly, Nynaeve is, and we'll get to Nynaeve. Nynaeve's best part, Nynaeve's best moment is in this book.
Mm-hmm.
But Loyal's getting, like, I cared about Loyal. I liked the Loyal character I liked the Loyal character quite a bit. Kind of, he reminds me of me in a way. I was when I was growing up, when I was younger, I mean, I'm not tall now, but like when I was growing up, I was always big, and I was always taller than most of my classmates, and I always wanted to, be friends and have
Mm-hmm.
friends and all that. That's the connection that I have with Loyal, and I like it when Loyal interacts with the boys, with Perrin and Rand especially. So him getting married, and like they just get married right away. The wife or the mom, and the elder Hammond just show up, and they're like, okay, we're gonna have the wedding in like these special quarters that were designed only for Ogier.
Yes. And he
And so
like had no choice. I just love it the way they just show up and just order him, and he just has no choice. But it's like okay, and he likes her. He's all pretty.
he just doesn't want to be just doesn't want to go back home. And the thing
Mm-hmm.
is, they're like, well, you have to go back home. You're not you have to go back home, and because of the longing, because they have to go back to the steading every so and so, they or the Ogier will die. So
Mm-hmm.
he has to go back. So Rand wants to give him an assignment. Rand wants him to close all the way gates that are unknown to him and to most people, that only the Ogier would know. So and he wants Loyal to do this, and Elder Hammond's like, no, I'll do it. I'll do it instead. So it seems like Loyal is gonna be taking up in the next few books. He's gonna be taking up more of a leadership position back at home, and he's probably gonna convince everybody to. So they're right now, the Ogier are trying to convince themselves whether or not to go back to their world, like they're from another world.
Mm-hmm.
Either to leave and go back to another world and leave the humans to deal with the last battle,
Mm-hmm.
or they stay. And then this is like an ongoing debate amongst the Ogier people, basically all the different steadings, I'm guessing. So I'm guessing I'm estimating that Loyal is going to take a more of a leadership role and get the Ogier to join the forces of light in the last battle. So,
Well,
but
we shall see.
yeah, you've read it, so you know what happens. So that's what I'm thinking. But then but this wedding, doesn't, like, the wedding ends with a battle.
Yes. 100,000, right? It's like a total true lot.
It's like the Battle of Pelennor Fields in Return of the King.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's how big the York army was. They are the army of Sauron.
Yep.
So, and Lews Therin just takes over Rand's channeling, and just starts creating death gates.
Yeah. Was it in Blossoms of Fire? Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
Yeah, Blossoms of Fire. Yeah, Death Gates. Like, uh, and Rand turns over, looks at Logain because Logain is there, and Logain's like, he's like, Rand's like, my Death Gate's bigger than yours, bro.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's that tension between Logain and Rand, like the whole time. Like Logain doesn't want to listen, or Logain has, makes up excuses or something, talks back, and Rand is not looking good at all. Like Rand is like, he's knocking on death's door. Like his evil wounds are eating him alive. He's not looking good at all. Like he's just completely stone faced, and like there's nothing that can make him happy. And fucking excuse my language. Cad Swain is not freaking helping things by spanking him when he gets mad.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and yeah, in general, I don't mind f bombs, but since this is daytime, I know that people are sometimes listening at work, so that's the only reason.
Yeah, you are the Catholic explainer, and I have to, I have to be a better. I have to act. I have to at least act like.
Yeah. Well, I've been trying to. Every Lent I try to get the f bomb out of my existence. It's hard. This world makes it hard, but indeed. Yeah, and that's mainly the only reason on daytime I try to behave myself. I remember I used to sometimes in my office be listening, and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I need to put on my earphones." Not to me, but to other people as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing is, I completely understand why Rand has issues. I mean, if a man has earned problems, he definitely has, and I think that it's kind of sad, but logical that with Luce Theron, he makes a deal with him. Basically, we're gonna die together in the last battle, so it's almost like a pact that he makes, and he's like, "Listen, dude, back off." And then I promise you, we will die together at the last battle. And Luce Theron's like, "Oh, okay, cool." Anyway, so it's logical that we can't see how Rand can survive this. It's almost, I don't want to compare because I'm cautious about comparing, but it's similar to the feeling I remember getting about Frodo. It's like, you can't survive this. And they even said it in with the Return of the King, or is it Two Towers book? I forget which ones, where it's like, I don't know if we're coming back. This is a one-way trip. And that Rand is definitely on a one-way trip, whether it's his sanity or his life.
Do you think it has anything to do with? I forget how Tolkien words it, but I'm quoting the movies. Like, we saved the Shire, but not for me, or something like that. So it seems like maybe part of him did die.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Frodo did. Yeah, that's why he had to literally go off to kind of elf heaven, kind of sort of to the Undying Lands at the end. He was done with this world.
Yeah, and so like the whole experience, you're just never the same. And I mean, I'm guessing there's hints. So we're getting hints to it in these Rand chapters of what's ultimately, I think, going to happen to him. I kind of know what happens to him. I just don't know how it goes about, and I don't know exactly how it ends, and I don't know how it plays out exactly. But I do know like what ultimately happens to Rand. He does die in order
to. Whoa.
No. This is in the book. This is the prophecy. In order to live, he must die.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, in order to live, he must die. And so I know how. I think I know how it comes about. And we find out that he is connected to. He has a bond with the guy, the guy who I suspect is a Forsaken. From Shader Logoth. So there's in at the end of Crown of Swords, when he's trying to kill Samael, another guy shows up who has the ability who not only saves his life, because Rand was about to fall to his death, like the ground was crumbling underneath him. The ground was crumbling underneath him, and he gets saved by another guy, a big man just as big as him. And he's like, "You're not ready to die yet, Luce Theron," or something. And then at the same time, somehow they both cast balefire against Mashadar, the monster of Shader Logoth. And their balefires collide. Their balefires collide, and because of that, it caused this bond to happen between him and this stranger who I think is a Forsaken. Now I know who it is, but I know who it is that we were talking about. But for the sake of it hasn't been revealed yet. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens is I think that there's something that bonds them, and there's something that it plays into that. I think it plays into that idea. I think it plays from that idea and all that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what ultimately happens to Rand, in my opinion. I just don't know how exactly that it happens. So it's going to be an interesting thing to find out. Um,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, he sees this guy. He sees this guy in his thoughts. And he's like, I remember this guy. So, yeah, that's another thing that was set up in here. And of course, um, we get this whole thing with Semiraj in the beginning, Semiraj,
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, okay, so how is she going to play a part later on? Well, we find out. He sends Davin Bashir. He sends Davin Bashir to treat with the Shan Chan, and so that he can meet the princess of nine. Was it the daughter of the Nine Moons, basically?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we all know that that's Tuon, and we find so he meets her in this town in Altara, and instead of Tuon, it's we find out that it's actually Semiraj, and she tries to assassinate him right then and there.
Yes, and in the process, uh, Rand loses his left hand. Cimaraj, what's it? She burns it off. I forget
Yeah,
how.
so, yeah, she casts like fire at him, and she had Damani with her, the channelers.
Mm-hmm.
So the channelers were able to shield everybody, except for Nynaeve and Cadswain. Nynaeve and Cadswain were not shielded because they had those earring Terangrial. I don't know if you know this, but Cadswain wears these Terangrial earrings, and that's
Mm-hmm.
allowed her to channel in places where you would be shielded and all that. So they were able to stop her. So the initial attack did hit Rand. It hit his arm. He sticks his arm out, and he has like men right behind. There's that famous artwork that's
Mm-hmm.
actually pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen it with
I
Semiraj, casting fire at him, and then he has men right behind him. Um, yeah, and then he
I
gets knocked out. So we don't actually see what happens to Semiraj, but we just know that they have her shielded. Cat Swain and Nynaeve both have her shielded. So now Semiraj is a prisoner of the forces of the light.
Yay!
So
So they have themselves a Forsaken.
yep.
Um,
So I'm curious if it's going to end the same way it ended for, because didn't Rand have another Forsaken under his wing, and then that Forsaken gets murdered.
yes, and it was a mystery that wasn't really resolved. I think into the last book, and I've been told that when Brandon Sanderson first got his hands on the notes, that was like the first thing he looked up was like who
Yeah,
killed him.
who killed Asmodean? Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I mean, I loved Asmodean. I thought that was great.
That was
Yes.
that. I mean, I'll be honest. I've said this before, but that him and at least that initial conversation between him and Rand is one of my favorite chapters in Fires of Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I kind of I you know the I actually the final fight between those two and Shao Rising, it kind of grew on me. I reread the chapter. I was like, okay, this is not bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's good stuff. I before we move on, I want to say about Taim. At this point, he actually no, sorry, Logain. Logain speaks to Rand that he thinks that Taim is a dark friend, and Rand is like, nah.
Mm.
So is he or isn't he? I think that that's been a question for a while, and we'll get, of course, to that
Well,
at
we,
the
we
very
as we as the reader know that he is a dark friend. We know
yeah
from that one
last line.
remember that one chapter and where they're in Farmatting and Rand's hunting the renegade Ashaman that tried to assassinate him and
Hmm.
Kyrian at the end of book 8. Well, we find out through the point of view of one of the Ashaman, one of the renegade Ashaman, that it wasn't just he was ordered by Taim. It wasn't just he was ordered by Taim to kill Rand. He was ordered by Demandred to kill Rand. And originally,
Hmm.
and I don't know if you've noticed this, but and I think I brought this up, but like the whole. Did you ever think when you were reading this that Demandred and Mazrim Time were the same person?
I personally did not until I learned that that was a thing.
Because they
And
were
then I'm
both
like, okay.
yeah, because they were both introduced in Lord of Chaos,
Hmm.
and they both had very similar. There were some similarities, and my friend Dane actually brings up those similarities quite a bit. But then, I think he told me that readers figured it out really quickly, and
Hmm.
so Robert Jordan kind of changed it.
Ah, well, that's too bad. I think he should have just stuck with his plan, but that's okay. That's okay. But definitely by the end of the book, we know who Taim is because he says the famous, very famous line. Uh, and speaking of all this chaos, it's not just chaos that the Dark Friends are necessarily doing. Nature itself is rebelling. There's more signs of what's it? There's weather and there's not weather, what is it, rather the crops and things
Yeah,
are
so
feeling.
so the crops are being polluted by weevils for starters. The meat is the every time they butcher animals, the meat goes rotten like right away.
Hmm.
Everybody sees the dead.
Yes, ghosts and people coming back, and that's really creepy too, by the way. I enjoyed those parts.
And
um
there was another part. There was a part where this was a Matt chapter. Um, so Matt, Matt sees this merchant, and this merchant all of a sudden is riding by like this town full of dead people. This dead town
hmm.
because the whole pattern's out of whack. So everybody's seeing the dead, and it's gotten to the point where it's becoming normalized at this point. Like people are getting less afraid of seeing the dead. Um, but the the, uh, the solicitor, not the solicitor, the merchant and his cart, his carriage sink into the ground. And
Yeah.
Matt tries to
Oh,
save him,
that's
and they
awful.
can't. It was just it was a strange one. And then that dead town also sank into the ground. And I
Yeah,
was
that
just
was
like,
horrible.
and I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, what is
Hmm.
is this like a bubble of evil? Is this? And I don't think this ever gets. I don't think this ever gets answered. It's either a bubble of evil or it's just the pattern starting to unravel because of the fact that the Dark One is is getting closer and closer to being released. The seals are breaking and all
Yeah.
that. So like reality's unraveling, and that's kind of showing quite a bit in this.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's I think where they were going with it, and not just that, but in the palace where Elaine is, the corridors are changing. It's like you
Is
go one place and
same in the White Tower. That's correct.
mhm,
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's true.
and that's just wild. So I can imagine that you think you're going mad, like you're walking down a hallway, and then suddenly you're in a completely different wing. Like they'll be like in the brown area, or and she's like, "What the hell?" And then in the palace. So even buildings are being messed up. But I like that idea. I like the idea that there's spiritual chaos and that's being mirrored in the very reality that's around them. I think I like that what he's doing there. But yeah, it's just really creepy and fun. I have two thumbs up on that one.
So
Um,
we have to. I don't know if you what you have next, but we got to talk about Nynaeve. I
oh
don't know if
yeah,
you want to talk about
I
that
was
next.
about ready to say naive, dude. You read my mind. Okay, well, what do you want to say about naive?
Well, Nynaeve is, Nynaeve. She's just, she's been ever since her arc, her character arc kind of. I consider her character arc kind of concluded when she lost, when she finally was able to break the wall that was keeping her from channeling
Mm-hmm. Yes.
in Crown of Swords, when she nearly drowns and all that, and she just lets herself, she lets Saidar basically take her, and she's able to save herself. Um, but we don't really get to see her that much, like in terms as a point of view character. So it was nice seeing her come, basically seeing her come back as a point of view character, and then her and Lan talk about, well, and this is something I've been waiting for since book one, Malkir.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen with Malkir? Lan is the crown king, crown the he's supposed to be the king of Malkir. So he's like, okay, this is going to happen. We are finally going to, and this is another great thing about Knife of Dreams, is that this is finally building towards the end. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the plot points that starts here is Lan going off to Tarwin's Gap, and Nynaeve is like, "You're not doing this alone, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing this alone." So she basically she says, "Okay, you're going to start here, and then you're going to ride all the way there." Like, this isn't Tarwin's Gap. She's like, "No, you're gonna get some help. You're gonna get some help." And he's like, "All right, fine, I'll get some help or something." At least I think he does. And then she makes sure she goes on her own mission and makes sure that that he gets some help. So she starts going and talking. She finds this guy named Wylan Eldragarin, and she basically says to him, I want to read the actual quote here,
Okay,
because
because I was
like
about to say it was awesome.
because
I was like,
I had a strong, like certain passages in this book. uh I had really strong responses. This one in
mhm.
particular was a very strong response. Let me see if I could find it really quickly. um let's see.
Yes.
um
If it's what I'm
all right, here.
thinking, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I was cheering. It's
Yes,
very rare when
yes.
I cheer in a
I
book.
got I
This
got it
is
right
great.
here.
Good.
I got it
Let's
right
hear it.
here. I never thought I would get this moment from a Nynaeve. So
Yes.
my name is Nynaeve T. Almera Mandragoran. The message I want sent is this: my husband rides from World's End towards Tarwin's Gap, toward Tarman Gaiden. Will he ride alone?
Oh, I know. Damn it. I love it.
And then they're like, and then of course, and then we find out Lan told me once that Malkir lives so long as one man wears the Hadori, in pledge that he will fight the shadow. So long as one woman wears the Kisane, in pledge that she will send her sons to fight the shadow. I wear the Kisane, Master Eldragoran. My husband wears the Hadori. So do you. Will Lan Mandragoran ride to the last battle alone?
And I'm like,
And
no, I'll go with you.
he will not, my lady. I can stand surety for anyone else. I cannot stand surety for anyone else, but I swear to you, under the light and by my hope of rebirth and salvation, he will not ride alone.
Yeah, that's
And
the
then,
big old oath when you say that by your rebirth and your salvation.
yeah, and then he goes to some of the other men there, and they're like, "Do you still remember who you are? Do you remember your blood? Who rides with me for Tauren's Gap?" And then they're all like, "The golden crane flies for Tarman
Yes.
Gaiden. The golden crane flies for Tarman Gaiden." That was great. That was a
Yes, yes,
great.
yes, yes. I
That was
loved it.
Yes.
Oh,
It
man.
was good. It was really good. I got to listen to I before I even read this, I was listening I was listening ahead to this in my car. I thought this was great
Oh,
performance by Michael Kramer.
yes. I mean, yeah, when they said that, and it's like, where are they going for? They're going basically, it's like they're going toward the end of the world, the end of time, the end of everything, the end of all things.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, Tarwin's Gap was where where the end of Eye of the World takes place. It's not too far away from Feldara, and that's
mhm.
where that's where the Shinarans had like a bit of a last stand with the Trolloc army, and then Rand just shows up after killing after killing the two Forsaken, Agenor and Balthamel, and he just shows up and just completely vanquishes them with his power. And he's like in a fever dream while doing this. He doesn't even realize what he's doing. And then of course, then right after that, he confronts Baalzamon the first time and defeats him or beats him, and then leaves. So, and Teleron Riyadh, I think. So that's where we're going. We're going back to the beginning in a way. So I kind of like that. I like it when stories go full circle. Like you haven't been back to where the story began for so long, and then you go back, and then you end up going back to where it began to kind of conclude things. I always liked that in stories.
Well,
I don't know about you.
Well, absolutely. Of course, I like it. And it shows the power of the writing. It shows the power of what Robert Jordan created. Whenever I read a book, like just even you just rereading that, I believe it or not, that's what I was thinking about too. Whenever a book can give you that kind of an emotional reaction, even on the rereading of what you just did, it's just like, that is great writing. And you have to have characters that you care about, and you have to have a story that you care about. And I think that is what is failing in modern storytelling. If you don't give a damn, then what's the point? But the fact that Nynaeve, as you said, of all people, that the Nynaeve that we saw when we first meet her, compared to the Nynaeve that she grew into and where she is now as the wife of the I guess future queen, or is she the queen already? I don't know, of Malky, whatever you call it. And then rallies them. It's just so
powerful,
incredibly cool. Just so cool. And
actually, I like Land because I like Land. So if she has Land's back, I like that.
Yeah, we can forgive her for being on having PMS for so long, but I think that
or smacking Land when he's trying to be selfless and all that.
Exactly. Well, I think two things change with her, in my humble opinion. One is when she breaks through that barrier, that definitely changes her. It was like a big moment.
Well, it was. I didn't like the fact that he rescues her and he still feels unworthy, and then she just smacks him.
Well, that's true.
I'm just like, you're not. I don't know, but I get why she did it, to kind of snap him. I guess to snap him out of it. Snap out of his, his guilt or something. His fate. Being fatalistic. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I still didn't like that. It's just weird. It's a weird feeling for me. But yeah.
True. But then what happens next though is they get married, so she gets laid. And I think
she was a virgin the entire time, so that probably explains it. So
all I'm saying is that can, you get what is it I hear you get, especially women, you get these feelings of goodwill and calming and all of that stuff. So a lot of her problems, and she got what she wanted too, not to mention just the physical that she gets when she marries him, but becoming the wife of Lan was her goal the whole time. And I don't consider this a spoiler, but boy, oh boy, does she let everybody know whenever she can in the next 3 books, I'm married. And you know that women do that. They do that all the time. Or even when they're engaged, they're always like, oh, look at my ring. Oh, and so it's the same thing. And she does that. So she got what she wanted. And more power to her. So we definitely do see a change. But yeah, definitely Nynaeve. I had different feelings about her toward the end. But so good stuff with that. I guess mainly what I want to talk about with Matt, he's just badass, and he has this little fox thing that protects him. I really, really loved the interactions with him and Tuan. I know there's lots of people that don't. And when she finally says 3 times, "You are my husband, you are my husband, you are my husband," that was another moment where I kind of let out a bit of a cheer. I remember it because I was reading it I was at my parents' house. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great!" And so they do get officially married. I don't know. How do you feel about the two of them? Are you one of those that
You
is
know,
not too crazy about it?
no, no, I'm actually okay with it. I don't dislike Tuan. I mean, it's one of those relationships that actually will need work, because she literally says, I don't know if it's in this one, but she literally says she doesn't love him.
Mm.
But so it's more of a marriage of convenience at first. So we'll see how that goes. One of my favorite moments with Matt was actually the chapter from her point of view.
Hmm.
So the chapter from her point of view is where so he already is reunited with the band of the Red Hand. So he's once again reunited with Talmanis,
Hmm.
and they realize that they're being they're planning on taking out as many Sean Chan as possible. And so she's listening in on one of their conversations. If I remember, let me see if I can find it. Um, yeah, so so Tuan is actually listening really closely to Matt, and I like how in that chapter Matt is constantly referred to as Toy, because that's what she calls him.
Yes, her nickname is Troy.
So so they're trying to figure out the plan to, because they wanted to get they want to get out of Altara, but they can't. So so she learns about Taverin and all that. So yeah, and this was right before. So apparently the context all here is, like, the Shanshan are looking for her. Vera Kareed is a banner general looking for her. And then we find out, I think they found out in this one rowdy bar they called a hell, in an earlier chapter, and there were assassins there trying to kill her, basically. And so that's how
Hmm.
they find out that there's people in the Shan Chan that want her dead, and that the ones that are actively seeking her out want to assassinate her, basically. So we're assuming that they were sent by Semirog and the High Lady Surov, and of course that plays out later. And we see Matt really doing really good with handling daggers really good.
Hmm.
It's not just him in the Ashandarai, his nice little quarter staff with the blades and all that. He's actually good with daggers too. Um uh so he fights them off, and so they're basically trying to get away, and they're trying to figure out who is after them. And so they have these new type of crossbows where they can easily, with the crank, they can use a crank to crank up and reload the quarrels on the crossbow really quickly, so that they can keep shooting at the enemy. And that's ultimately what happens in that initial fight. They managed to ambush and take out several companies of Shanshan as a result.
Mm.
And
Yes, it was.
she's listening. She's listening to him the whole time. Like, this is the one time she takes a real big interest in him, because of his expertise and his
Mhm.
ability to plan and coordinate battles.
Yeah. Well, it's partly based on all of this why I believe they're a good match, even though it's not necessarily love. Because someone like Tuan, she has like a whole other different concept of things, but the fact that she respects Matt and that she is intrigued by him and calls him toy and he comes back and calls her precious. No one stands up to her like that. So she definitely respects him. And for her, or rather, she respects him. And that's kind of love. And even the feeling that he has towards her, it's not a conventional relationship at all. It's definitely the whole enemies to lovers situation, but with a twist, I feel.
Yeah, and another thing I like about Tuan, and this is much earlier in this
Hmm.
book, the Aes Sedai keep harassing her, and
Hmm.
she basically collars all three of them. Her and Seleucia, her
Hell
her
yeah.
attendant, collar all of them, and she's like, okay, you're going to be my slaves. And then they're just freaking the hell out. And of course, uh, uh, the two that were already collared before are freaking out. So yeah, and so it was, and then of course Matt does some spanking. Matt actually
Yeah.
Matt doesn't like to hit women. Matt doesn't like to hurt women at all. But he was spanking what's her name? I can't remember her name. What's her name?
Uh, I don't know either, but yes, and the spanking was well deserved. We are in favor of spanking here at Miss Martin Muses under the
Because
correct context.
yeah, because there was a chapter where they're really close to Sean Chan, and all of a sudden the Aes Sedai are channeling, and he's like, "What the f?" And then he's like, there's freaking Damani and Sean Chan right there. They're going to sense you." And we find out that one of the girls, Bethaman, one of the Sean Chan girls that's in their custody, is starting to manifest channeling abilities, and so they're trying to help her with that because once you manifest channeling abilities, if you don't learn how to control it, you could die basically. So
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to help her, but at the same time, he's like, what the hell's going on? And then all of a sudden, Jolene, okay, it's Jolene, I remember the name, she just smacks him, and he's like, B word, and then he just
Mm-hmm.
takes her and yeah.
Yeah. She
So
had it coming. She
she
had it
had it.
coming.
She
Yeah,
had it.
only had herself to blame.
I thought that was funny.
Uh,
I honestly thought that was funny. So.
yeah, probably nowadays that would be considered too toxic. But you know what? I
Mm-hmm.
love the way that Jordan is an equal opportunity. Men, women, whatever, they misbehave, they get what's coming to them.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, if this book were published today, they probably would have forced him to take that stuff out. Even, and it's just like, no. We need to keep that. We need to laugh now and then. Come on, people, especially the Aes Sedai need to be taken down a peg, and he does it with men too. Equally. He has men kicking the crap out of each other. So, but we have the greatest revelation, or the great revelation in this, that Matt gets from Tom, and that is
That was good. Yeah, that was
dun
really good.
dun dun. Moraine is still alive. She's not dead. Now, I thought she was dead.
I never doubted that. I never doubted her falling into the doorway was basically Gandalf falling falling down the pit.
Yeah, if you never see a body, it didn't happen. But I at first thought she was dead. It's like, oh my gosh, she's dead. And then it was, I know enough people, unfortunately, that have read the book that were enough of, it's like, oh gosh, they're kind of being quiet. So it's like, okay, maybe she's not dead. Or it's like, well, did you read this?
Yeah, so I forget exactly how she finds out. It's either she finds out either in the Shadow Rising when she because remember Matt's, so we see the snake people from Matt's point of view, but at the same time Matt was doing it, Rand was doing it, and Moraine. Rand and Moraine also did it at the same time. So Rand had different questions. That explains why, conveniently, in my opinion, explains why he knew what to do with cleansing Sidene and all that. And now we're finding out other things like the direction he needs to go in order to unify or prepare for to survive the final battle. But Moraine, I forget if Moraine used that moment with the snake people or if it was, because remember in also in the Shadow Rising when they go to Roydion, her and Avienda strip naked, and they go down to Roydion to the rings, to the Terangriel rings, which are kind of like equivalent to the remember the accepted trial. You go in.
Yeah, very similar to that. Yes.
So they experience something, and that's how Moraine finds out about her future, her death, and all that. So that's why she writes the letter. Like she finds out like the manner of her death. She finds it. So when she goes with him to the harbor, she knew exactly what was going to happen. with
Mm-hmm.
Lanfear in Fires of Heaven, and so she wrote the letter. She wrote the letter. Um, she wrote the letter beforehand, and then it came. It was in Tom's hand. Um,
Yeah, Tom.
it,
Yeah, it was a letter.
it was in Matt's hand. Matt gives it to Tom, and Tom read it, and Tom did not tell Matt about it until Matt brought it up or something like
Yeah,
that. Because
and it
if it didn't if it happened in any other way, then they would have then the situation would have not been in their favor. One of them and all of them would have died. It would have been it was a case of life and death. That it had to fall down exactly the way Moraine's letter said it was supposed to go. So
correct. And when he lets them know that, and she is, to make it clear, Moraine is now trapped by the Aelfin and the Elfin, and Matt and Tom and Noel, the three of them, they are going to be the ones who are going to rescue her. That's the plan. And then Oliver, he's a little bit what Gavroche, a little bit Artful Dodger. He talks about the snakes and foxes game that they were always playing. It's kind of like, I always imagined it like checkers or a version of chess, but it turns out snakes and foxes, and it mirrors what they're going to have to go through, like the snakes and the foxes with these Aelfane and Elfin, and it's actually going to play a part. He's in the future, so I guess all of you that are learning chess, maybe one day you'll need that to rescue someone you love. So pay attention. So I thought that was a cool little tie-in there.
yeah. Yeah, and so we've the Tower of Genji is, tower that we saw briefly when Rand and Matt were sailing with Bail Doman on the spray along the
Mm-hmm.
river. We see this weird looking tower. That was the Tower of Genji, and then of course Perrin as the wolf, Perrin in his wolf dream actually
Mm-hmm.
goes there in the Shadow Rising. So
Yeah.
it seems like, and I'm taking it based on my the artwork of Towers of Midnight, book 13, is when all this is going to be going down. So apparently, Robert Jordan's already, like, once again, this is setting up for the end. So
Mm-hmm.
I was actually kind of surprised how long Moraine would be out of the story, because Moraine's been out of the story since book 5, and
Yeah.
we're already on book 11, and we're finally getting some. We're like, okay, yeah, we're like, okay, finally something's going to happen with this. So I'm curious. So like, even when reading, I'm like, oh, she's going to come back and some. I actually accidentally found that out, like long ago. So, so I always knew she was going to come back, and it makes sense. So, but I
Well, if
am
she's
looking.
not dead, she has to come back. That's
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'm curious how she's going to play into, now that there's billions of other Ice to Die around Rand and our heroes. So I'm curious how she's going to play into all that, and now you have Cad Swain there, as well. So I'm just curious if she's how she's going to fit in once she gets rescued,
hmm.
and how
Well,
it's going to go and how it's going to go down. So
yes. Well, we shall see. We shall definitely see.
there's
Now,
still one thing left from Matt that we haven't gotten yet,
oh,
and
okay.
that is Matt losing light in one eye, basically.
Uh
So
yeah.
I'm curious if that's going to be connected to this little mission.
Well, yeah. Well, you will find out. You will find out. Uh,
That I'm looking forward to, and him finally taking out the Golem. So the Golem did not appear in this book, but the Golem was mentioned quite a bit. So the Golem is hot on his trail. So all the places that they went to, the Golem also went to, and has been killing and eating people.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm just I want to see how that. I mean, I have an idea. I think I have an idea what's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen to the Golem. I think can they kill it? I don't know,
Yeah. Well,
or trap it somewhere. I don't know.
well, we shall see. Well, um, Elaine, I don't really want to go too much into Lane. She's probably the most the least interesting character. But to make a very long story short,
I
there's
loved
like,
I loved there's one part that just that rocked my socks off.
okay,
It was so awesomely, maybe it's because I like dark stuff and all that in a way, but uh every now and then I enjoy I enjoy some good revenge.
oh yes,
I love some good revenge sometimes, and Van Deen killing that one Aes Sedai.
oh hell yes, the one
She
that killed
says,
her sister.
she yeah. So they get caught. So they're going. So Elaine figures out. That Elaine sends. So Elaine sends. Elaine figures out that Dallin Millar is he goes out at night, and she doesn't trust him. So and we find out several times. We find out that she's the one that's been sending people to spy on him to see where he's going, and he's been killing them left and right, um, and making it seem like that they were being killed by footpads instead
Hmm.
of him. So she sends someone who is so ordinary looking that he will not spot him. And so I'm getting a little afraid for this character. So she basically says, if you don't want to die, you're a criminal, you don't want to die. I forget the guy's name. Sam Well or something, Sam something. um
I, I don't know.
and she sends him, and she's like, you're gonna spy on this guy, and you gotta make sure he doesn't see you. You gotta find out where he's going. Well, the guy succeeds, and she finds out where the Lady Shane and all those dark friends are holed up, where they're hanging out. And so she goes in with Van Deen and the two other Aes Sedai there with them, Saritha and Carrion. And we find out, and because of the so they go in, they manage to shield and use air on Lady Shane and what's her name, Thalion, and I forget the other Aes Sedai's name. But there's two other Aes Sedai. There's two other Black Aja that were unaccounted for that show up after them, and the four of them get shielded as a result. So Elaine, Van Deen, Carrion, and Saritha. And well, one of them one of them just basically tries to fight back, and they're like, no, 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 wait. Carrie Ann is with us. And then Van Deen takes out her, even though they're shielded, Van Deen takes out her dagger, and she's like, a gift from Adelaide, and then just stabs the shit
Oh
out of
yes,
Carrie Ann. And I was just
yes,
like, yeah.
yes,
And
hell yeah.
I was not expecting that type of, I was not expecting that type of thing. Now, with revenge, usually the person that carries out the revenge usually dies in the process, and that in this case that's what happened. Everyone except for Elaine, because Elaine is
Plot
Elaine is
armor.
Elaine has plot armor. Yeah, Elaine has so much plot armor. That's one thing I noticed.
Yep.
Yeah, Elaine has plot armor, so all the other three Aes Sedai die, and Elaine is the only one that lives, and so they keep her alive, and they take her away. And I think the warders of the three Aes Sedai try to go in. They try to go in and save them, or they try to go in. They fight, and we don't see what happens to them, but we assume they
Yeah.
got killed. They got killed. So
Yep. Brigida is able to feel it, I think.
and so Brigida goes back and tries to. So while that's going on, Brigida goes back, tries to rally a force to fight them, and she has to beg the stupid sea folk, because the sea folk are useless, and they're unlikable. She had to beg them to help with saying, like, it's not our problem. Like, well, it is if you want your arrangements to be honored. So
Hmm.
so they helped against they used their channelers to help against those channelers, and at the same time, Aramella and the other claimants to the throne of Camelin are pulling their shit, and they're trying to attack one of the gates. So Brigida's got two problems on her two
Yep.
problems on her hands. So obviously, first things first, you got to rescue the daughter heir. You have to rescue Elaine. So they go in and rescue Elaine, and they kill Asney at the one Black Aja that showed up at the end. That pulled the rug from under them was Asney. Well, Asney gets killed, and the rest of them are taken into custody. So Lady Shane, Dallin Millar, or David Hanlon, and the other three are taken into custody. So it was
Mhm.
okay. I would have rather seen them all die personally, especially Lady Shane. And I know Lady nothing happens to Lady Shane because Sanderson forgot about her. That I do
Mm.
know. So,
Oh well.
but yeah, the I was kind of disappointed that they weren't all killed, except for, well, maybe leave Falion alive or something, but the rest of them should have died, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and then it was pretty cool though, the whole battle thing that happens, and what is it? Elaine uses gateways and she kind of
Yes,
leads them to do this assault from the rear. That was really cool and really well written. And that was another moment where, even though I'm not crazy about Elaine, I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, it was okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was okay. I
Yep.
mean, I
I
wasn't.
liked it.
I wasn't. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't. I mean, it didn't wow me. I mean, it was going to be something. It was going to be something like that. And they did this something similar with Matt, where they fought. They basically fought from behind, which is, I mean, it's a battle tactic. It's the only way to
Sure.
win. So
Yeah.
it was the same thing with Matt. That Matt was pretending to be, you know, they're having their final standoff. Matt is pretending to be vulnerable. Like the only thing that's hiding them is a wall, and then there's all the Shan Chan forces come and they attack. And then I think they used fireworks. They used fireworks.
Oh yes, with Aluda, yeah, they use them almost like missiles.
Yeah, so they use fireworks, and they're and of course the crossbows, the cranked crossbows, and then of course Telmanus and the band come from fight them from behind and are able to basically they form like a square around Mad and all that, and they manage to defeat the Shan Chan. And what's funny is there's only one Shan Chan amongst, like, they're all either Terrabonners or Amadisians or something, and maybe some Damani, I don't know. But they find the one Shan Chan because they're looking for the traitor. They're looking for the
Mhm.
Shan Chan traitor that wants Tuan dead, basically the one that, and they find him. And because of the fact that they find him, they know exactly who he is, and they know exactly who he serves. He serves the High Lady Suroth, and that's what leads to the epilogue, where they basically, High Lady Suroth is taken into custody, which
Mhm.
which in Sean Chan style, and to her, is a fate worse than death.
Yes, it's like she'd rather die, rather be
She did
executed.
not have her dagger with her, so she could not open her veins.
Yeah, she
She
couldn't
could not.
take the easy way out. Yeah, it. Oh gosh, yeah, that was actually pretty sweet too. It's
So
that
yeah,
was
so like, so
so well
she's
written.
her name is stricken from the record, and she has to live as a Dakavale basically for the rest of her
Mhm.
life. So, and that's ultimately what happens to her. And then of course, you know, the final, the final, and this I saved this for the end. The final thing with Perrin. I liked
Oh yeah, I was
the
gonna
tape.
say we're gonna get there, but before we do, just to also wrap a little bow on it. Thank goodness after the battle, Elaine becomes the queen. Like she gets I think he had to have 10 houses vouch for you. Oh no, 9 houses. She got that, so she's the queen. We got that taken care of. Boom, cross that off because it seemed to me like that went on for quite a while as well. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's
let's
right.
yeah, so finally, yes, she is the queen, and I thought that was cool. Again, I just like the way that Robert Jordan writes. The fact that a character that by this point I'm like, enough already, let's get this over with. The fact that he was able to write a conclusion to it that I enjoyed. I definitely did enjoy that. So 2 thumbs up. And of course, Perrin. Speaking of something else that finally gets wrapped up, oh my gosh, it seems like forever that Fail was kidnapped
At the
and
end,
he
at the
was
end
trying
of
to
at
find
the
her.
end of Path of Daggers. Yep, that's right.
So finally, but along the way, of course, there's lots of things that happen with Perrin. Um, one that was kind of sad. There was the guy from the Tinkers. Arid, is that his name? I think
Aram.
Aram, yeah. That it turns out he came under the Prophet of the Dragon's influence and tries to kill Perrin. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so sad.
Yeah,
And
it was one of the it was probably one of the most emotionally charged moments for me
mm-hmm,
in the Shadow Rising was what happens with Aram. So
mm-hmm,
um Aram's so we meet him in the Eye of the World. Egwene is kind of, even though Egwene is and Rand were supposed to be a thing,
mm-hmm,
Egwene is kind of messing around dancing with him,
mm-hmm,
and parents not really happy about it because this is from parents' point of view. And he's very naive, very naive about everything. And then the Shadow Rising kind of, we see them again, and it kind of beats them in the ass.
mm-hmm.
So the Trollocs killed a whole bunch of people, including his mother. Um,
Yeah.
and because of that, he did not he just completely rejects the Tinker's way of life, and because of that, his grandparents basically disavow him.
Yeah.
So his grandparents disavow him, so he has nothing. So now he becomes like parents' little puppy dog. But the problem is he's very easily people in that type of mental state are very easily to manipulate.
Yes.
And I kind of, even though he's not a chosen one, I compared him to Anakin from Star Wars.
Yeah, a similar story arc, similar personality, well, or similar background, perhaps,
Similar events, like
from a certain point of view.
he's manipulated, so Aaron basically turns to the dark side now, but this has been a very gradual thing. And Perrin, being in a position of leadership, cannot really be a friend to Aram, and Aram is not really getting along with anybody else. Aram
Mm-hmm.
does not want to get along with anybody else. So, and Perrin is trying to like keep him out of trouble. Perrin doesn't want him. Perrin doesn't trust him basically. And I think this they're like they're so the Perrin is planning, the rescue of Fael, to fighting the Shan Chan, or not the Shan Chan, allying with the Shan Chan, making a deal with the devil, as he calls it. Well, we'll talk about the deal with the devil with how the Tinkers think, because we do see another band of Tinkers through Matt. Um, but basically the with this they go to the Shan Chan. They need help because they cannot take on, the city of Malden has like 100,000 Shido and almost as many Gaishine. I don't think the Gaishine ever fight, but there's a lot of people involved, and there's a lot of channelers. There's like 500. I think they said there's 500 channelers, which completely would rock their socks off if they tried to engage with them openly. Not only the numbers, but also the channelers. So they not only need additional help from another military, they also need a way to keep the channelers from channeling. So they go, once again, the Shan Chan have access to the, I think it's the fork
Fork
root,
root. Mm-hmm.
and they use the fork root. They get the fork root and they put it into the water supply. And so there's this big massive aqueduct that goes from where they are to the main water source or to where the water gets distributed in Malden. And he sends people to go. He sends a lot of people to go through the aqueduct to basically to basically mess with the water. And Aram begs him to go on that mission, and it's not clear, but I'm curious between between him between him talking to the prophet, and between being dissatisfied with not being able to participate, was the straw that broke the Tinker's back, and
Mm.
caused him to fully embrace all the stuff that the prophet told him. The prophet told him he was a dark friend, and that
Yeah.
Fael needed to free Fael from him. Basically, was
Mm.
was the thing. So, and he waited until they were in the thick of battle to attack. The problem was there were Shido there, and the Shido killed him. Shido killed Aram, by shooting him several
Yeah.
times.
It was
So
so sad. I
it
just
it
broke
was
my heart.
sad. It was sad, and this was something that I talked about quite a bit because, like I said, it was a very strong moment in the Shadow Rising, and it just made me think. I mean, people blame Perrin for this, but I don't know.
Mm-mm.
When I think about it now, I don't know what Perrin could have done
No.
any different. I mean, I would have tried to. I mean, if I was there in this present, I would have tried to be a friend. But I've seen people be mistreated, and I've tried to befriend others, and those people that were. I've been in situations where I've tried to befriend others because I know that feeling. I can relate,
Hmm.
and be completely and can be completely rejected.
Yeah. No, no. I mean,
Some
you
people don't want the help from certain people.
yeah, you can only do so much. What is the expression? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
And he, like I said, he doesn't get along with anybody else. I think even Elias was present in Eye of the World when they encountered the Tinkers at first too. Elias tells him not to trust him.
Hmm.
Elias can't even get through to him. Nobody can get through to him. He acts like a puppy, a dog for Perrin, and the only person that does get through to him is someone with the prophets. The prophet knows how to manipulate, and
Hmm.
the prophet was able to get through to him and
Yeah,
and and, and corrupt him basically.
and I've personally seen it that when you have like a religious leader that's somehow charismatic, they, for lack of a better word, a cult.
They know how to, and I think
Yeah.
I think it goes for even Christian denominations. So they know how to they get you to open up, and then they use that against you.
Hmm. Yeah, I think we've all experienced that. I have as well, where when you're at your loneliness and then you're realizing, wait a second, maybe this isn't such a good person to hang around with, if you will, but it's
Yeah,
it's definitely there. And some of the more aggressive ones, the ones that'll knock on your door. Let me put it to you that way.
yeah.
Those, it's something it's real, and you can't make a grown person too. Well, even someone that's not a grown person, you can't
Hmm.
force them to do something.
No,
So definitely, you could see how that he again was just very vulnerable to that. And many people, I mean, look at how big Massimo was, the prophet of the dragon. He was able to get so many people following him. So someone like Aram was, ripe fruit for the situation, because the Tinkers, were so sheltered, if you will. There are these pacifists that are just going around in their wagons and stuff. So just everything set him up for this situation. But it was incredibly, incredibly sad. So 2 thumbs up, Robert Jordan, for making us care again, for sure. And
yeah, yeah.
and then finally, like I said, finally he rescues Fael. Now, there was some really cool stuff, battles and all that. And Fael and them, they were trying to escape, but they were deceived by, I forget the name of the chick. Uh,
Galena.
yes, yes, and she left them in a building basically to die. And I loved this because Morghese technically can channel, but barely. And so she totally like used the force and stuff to get what was it, a rag or something to wave out so that Perrin and all those people could see them and rescue them. And so that was just really a cool moment. Let me see, how did that go down?
It basically went down with what's his name, that one Aiel dude that was
Mhm.
kind of
Roland.
Roland was kind of screwing
Yeah.
with her. So it was Roland and his guys, the untouchables, or I forget what they're the ones that basically rescued her, and
Mhm.
Perrin. So they rescued her, and Perrin
That was
thanked him,
it. Those are the ones.
and
Yes.
and,
Gotcha.
and then he's like, okay, well, we're gonna take you away with us. We're gonna take you with us. And then Perrin's like, no, you're not. And then Perrin just kills the kills the
Yeah,
crap out of Roland. Just
I know,
smashes
and
him with that.
it's so sad because you see, he didn't realize that. Oh no, actually, Roland was there helping them. Then he was.
But at first, but I think he wanted to take her away with him. And then, I think
Oh,
this, so
for
I think
sure.
that, so I don't think Roland was in the good.
Well, but he was. He was like on their side, and Roland definitely is. What do you call it? Friendly fire, at least in I always that's how I saw it. Because but hey, it's what happened. Um and he dies. Like, I didn't like it because it seemed like, he was good to File, and frankly, by this point I was sick of her anyways, but oh well. Perrin loves her. So we finally then got that all wrapped up.
Yeah,
And I
and not only that, we actually meet Tam Althor again. Tam Althor uh,
yes, yes.
is reunited with Perrin, and Tam finds out that his son Rand is a Dragon Reborn. Perrin
Yes, that
confirms it
was
for him because in the Shadow Rising, Perrin did not tell him about that.
yeah. Yeah, and I also liked the return of Tam because even though we know he's not his biological father, in my humble opinion,
He
he is
still
his
is.
father. He's
He
his
still is.
father. He's
He's
the
still
one who
his father.
raised him. Yeah,
Yes.
he's the one who raised him and all that. He never Rand never knew his biological father, so I always considered that Tam was his dad. And so sad. Everything's so sad. And I guess then we're gonna go ahead and end with the dun 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 moment where, let's see what happens. Who is it? Oh yeah, Pavera gets to the Black Tower. She's a red sister, and she's talking about bonding the Ashaman. And Tyam is all like, yeah, yeah. Let the Lord of Chaos rule. And then I'm like, oh man, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, he's running the place like he's Blofeld from James Bond. Like, if somebody speaks out of line, he kills them. He kills the subordinate, or he beats the subordinate or something like that. So he's a straight up James Bond villain at this point.
Yeah.
The Black Tower is basically his evil fortress. So yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious where this whole Black Tower stuff goes. I know it's like at the very end, I think. Um, I'm assuming. I think I have on good authority that I think Master of Time will be elevated to Forsaken.
Oh well, technically, that
The
stuff is
the
beyond it. But is he or isn't he? We shall see. Because
the Mahile, probably.
oh yeah, and okay, oh yeah, I forgot there's that whole thing. Yeah, because even though the Forsaken are the Forsaken, just like bad guys or demons or whatever, they're also all against each other as well. They're all in competition.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
yeah, but I mean, the fact that the guy that's in charge of the Ashaman, the one that we think is on the side of Rand, the guy who said the coolest line ever. Remember when he's like, "Kneel or we'll make you kneel" to the Dragon Reborn at the end of,
Yeah,
I
swear
forget which book.
fealty to the Dragon Reborn, or you will be knelt.
Yes, I mean, it kind of hurt when I realized he's a bad guy. It did, but I guess that's once again what makes it good storytelling, that he could give me that emotion. It's like, really, the guy
Yep.
with the probably one of the best lines ever. Um, the one who you knew that there was some tension, but you know, uh, frenemies. Well, now I guess he's just plain enemy. So
Yeah.
let's all just have a good cry over it. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah, and kind of going back to, there was one thing I thought I did bring up that I thought was interesting, is that you know how the Tinkers, the Tuatha always travel. They're always on the move.
Mm-hmm.
They never stay in one place too long because they're not looked they don't feel safe. They don't feel safe
Mm-hmm.
around any communities because all these communities have these preconceived notions about them that like they corrupt and they steal their children or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, the Tuathan are heading towards the Shan lands because they know that the Shan will not let anything happen to them. So it tells you it goes to show you how safe the Shan lands or the Shan occupied lands of Ranland are now that all the all the conflict, all the issues, the banditry, all that's been put aside because now you have a powerful force that's willing to let the common people just go about their lives.
Mm.
The small folk, as you say it, and the
Yeah.
Tuathan have like a sixth sense when it comes to danger, especially when you remember Eye of the World. Like they're always two steps ahead of everybody. Well, they went straight. Matt encounters them when Matt's fleeing the Shanchan, and Matt encounters them going the opposite direction. They're like, we want to go to the Shanchan because we know that we'll be safe there.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Yeah.
I thought was a very interesting twist because the Shanchan are always vilified because of the fact that they have slaves and that they collar Aes Sedai or they collar channelers,
Yeah.
to Soldam and put them through this terrible ordeal. But I don't know, Shanchan aren't as bad as people think.
Yeah. Well,
And because of the fact that there are good Shanchan that help Matt fight the
yes.
bad ones, and at the same time you have that one lady that's assisting Perrin with this whole Shido thing. They're not
Yeah.
so bad. Maybe they're not so bad.
Yeah, or maybe they're, or just like any other people, there's good and there's bad. I mean, in some of their ways of looking at things, they're absolutely right, but absolutely wrong because often where they go, where they conquer, as they say, the trains ran on time, but they had some other moral issues um that perhaps are questionable. But yeah, but they're
Well, yeah,
definitely
they
very
had this.
interesting.
They had this. I mean, they have this immense hatred for channelers, basically. Like
Hmm.
they see it as dirty and all that. So
Yeah. Well,
that's a big thing. So
yeah, and of course the enslaving them and all that, that's
mhm.
never quite okay. Well, as we wrap it up, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you might would like to bring up about this book?
No, I think I talked about everything I wanted to say. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen. Perrin nearly gets assassinated. Once Perrin nearly gets assassinated, Rand, has his thing, with like the all of a sudden the Trollocs make this big grand return because we haven't seen any Trolloc attacks since Fires of Heaven.
Mm,
So there hasn't really been any shadow spawn like on the attack. And we get this really big 100,000 army that Rand and just Rand and a few others were able to vanquish. So it just makes you think: how big is the last battle going to be? How many strong on the side of the shadow? I'm
mm.
assuming the side of the shadow is going to overwhelm even the combined forces of everybody else. So
Well, you're gonna have to see.
ready to
So,
find out. Yeah.
yeah. So where we are right now, I know that sometimes you have perhaps expressed that you're not as into the story as I am. Like, for example, I couldn't stop reading. How do you feel overall toward this story at this point? Has your opinion changed, or how do you feel? I guess I'm just
I
kind of laying this
I
out.
I mean I like once again I have expectations, and did it fulfill my expectations? Not really, but at the same time I see like there's like he's obviously RJ is setting up like the final stories, like like he's sending everybody to not to Elmeth Plain but to Arid. He's sending everybody to Eridomon,
Hmm.
and he's basically saying, "Oh, we're setting up for Tarmogoyf." But I think they're trying to find. I think they're trying to basically. Uh, I forget why he's going there. I think they're trying to find Grendel because I know Grendel is holed up there. Grendel's holed up there, and there's this one section in the chapter that was interesting where they think that Samael has resurfaced. This is the Forsaken, the evil Forsaken meeting, and they say that Samael has resurfaced with like a major army of Shadow Spawn. So um, they did. My friends did confirm that that same army that was spotted in the ways is the one that attacks Rand and party um, at the manor. So the question is who, the question is who is posing as Samael, and then I thought, well, who's really good at creating basically creating veils of mists, veils of mist or something like that, or disguises. And I thought, well, Grendel.
Hmm.
So they're probably going to go try to look for Grendel in the next book, and they're positioning themselves to basically not only that but also to eradicate the Sean Chan. And they're going to meet up with. I think they're going to meet up. They're definitely going to meet up with Rodel, General, or one of the great captains, Rodel Iturralde. So we'll see. We'll see. I know that's being set up, and but yeah, but besides that, I mean, the Matt stuff didn't excite me as much as I was hoping. I did like how the parent stuff finally ended. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Galena, we didn't talk about Galena.
Mm.
Galena gets to experience a fate worse than death too.
Mm-hmm.
She is forever um, Thurava. So Thurava uh, is the mean Shido wise one that likes to. She's the sadistic one, and she's been tormenting Galena since the Crown of Swords. So for several books, and you thought, okay, maybe Galena's gonna get the edge on her. Nope. No, she
Mm-mm.
just betrays everybody else and then gets herself caught again by Thurava. And Thurava's like, you know what? You cannot do this again. You cannot do that again because she's still bound to the rod.
Yeah.
So Galena cannot free herself no matter what now. Like and then they take her away. They take her away. They're going back to the way. So the Shido that survived the battle. So Savannah is gone. Savannah is taken away by the Shan Chan. So she's going to be forever a slave now. But Thurava and a few of the other wise ones wised up and got the f out of there. And they find Galena, and Galena's like, oh my god, I'm going to be living for the next 400 years because she's Aes Sedai. I'm going to be living for the next 300, 400 years being tormented by this woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's the end
Yeah.
of her story. So yeah, she deserved it though.
Yeah.
I found out about that. I wasn't happy when I found out about it. I thought that it was like, oh, this sounds lame. But then I read, I'm like, okay, no, she totally deserved it.
Oh,
Fuck,
yeah.
so.
Everyone likes a good "they had it coming" situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, so I changed. I read it. I found out. I changed my mind. So uh, but yeah, I liked the parent stuff. I liked obviously all the stuff I brought up. The Elaine stuff kind of ended with her being queen. I'm like, yeah, I kind of knew that was coming. I love the revenge. I love that little revenge arc with Van Deen and all that. I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Um, I liked the naive part. The Matt stuff was okay. I thought the battle. I thought I was going to enjoy the battle more at the end. I didn't. It just. I mean, because I kind of knew he was going to win. It did seem like there were that many stakes involved. So whatever. Um, and yeah, it's building. It didn't cover nearly as much story as I thought it would. So
But it wrapped things up too and set up a lot. Now, as the last book
true.
that we ever got from Robert Jordan, again, I feel very melancholy every time I think about it. But I think that he did a good job. I mean, obviously, this is his work, and he was planning. I mean, he had said he had a memory of light, and when he even announced his sickness, he said, "Don't worry, I'm working on A Memory of Light," etc. But when Sanderson and all them got involved, they realized this was after Robert Jordan's death that they were going to have to do it in 3 novels. And once you read them, I think you'll see why they just couldn't just wrap this thing up. And I think they did a good job. But if you were to rate what you know of what Robert Jordan has written, and knowing, having had perhaps a reasonable assurance that it was wrapped up well um, by Sanderson, what would you say about Robert Jordan's work and what his story that he actually explicitly gave us in The Wheel of Time?
Wait, can you repeat that?
Well, like the fact that if you're looking at The Wheel of Time that he gave us, which even though it's his story that gets wrapped up to this point, these books that we've read, ending with Knife of Dreams, that is
Yeah,
Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. What would you say about that?
say about oh, I mean, RJ liked to take his time, and he's very. When it came to when it came to progressing, when it came to, he's very slow when it comes to the in terms of story. So like the last
Mm-hmm.
few books, I mean, the last few books, in my opinion, were a slog. I mean, the story slowed to a crawl, and its story still felt kind of slow in this one too, but it does pick up in like most of the second half.
Mm-hmm.
um, the longest chapter in this book was Egwene, and it was just her being beaten and having conversations I barely remember. But it was conversations. Oh, Elida's bad, and so and she doesn't even have any dialogue with Elida in this book. I'm taking it's the next book where her and Elida are going to kind of start to clash, and then that whole tower stuff is going to resolve, in my opinion, because we do find out in this book that the Shan Chan are going to invade the tower somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
I'm
been
assuming
foreseen.
I'm assuming they learned the art of making gateways. So they're going to use gateways to attack the White Tower, basically. So I'm assuming there's going to be a big battle with that. So I'm curious how that's going to play out. Well, I kind of do. I know what happens to a particular character.
Hmm.
So, um, but but yeah, I mean, like even with Knife of Dreams, this still did kind of feel like an extension of Crossroads of Twilight. It was very slow at points. There were points where I had to put the book down because I was just not interested in what I was reading. I was just waiting for some sort of development, whether it be learning something new, or that was relevant to the story, or something actually happening. Um, it just it felt more the same in a
Mm-hmm.
way. So um,
Yeah.
so
On
I
the
mean,
other hand,
I'm
Robert.
just I'm grateful that he started setting up stuff for the like the
Mhm.
Moraine stuff and the Malkier stuff, that which got me excited. So I'm glad he was even though this was his last book, I'm glad he was able to set that stuff up, because that's going to play a big part in the final 3 books that Sanderson finished.
Sure. Yeah. And I was about ready to say, what Robert Jordan gave us, not just obviously the whole story, and as you know, a completed story. He also, I mean, he gave us things like the end of The Dragon Reborn. I mean, just remember how, I'm just thinking how incredible that sky battle was and the way it was written.
Great
The
Hunt.
Yeah, or was it The Great Hunt?
Yeah,
My fault. My fault.
the Dragon Reborn was when they're in Tyr, and that he fights Bilal with his
Yeah,
with
my
his with
fault.
his with
My
his
fault.
fire sword, and
That's
then
the
he
third book.
and
Sorry.
then Moraine basically bail fires him, and then
Mm-hmm.
Baalzamon, he has his final fight with Baalzamon. He grabs Kalendor, and then chases Baalzamon into Teleron Riyadh, and he basically, even it becomes like, once again, he manages to cut Balefire in half with the
Yes.
Kalendor, and then he manages to slay Baalzamon ultimately. Well,
Yep.
I mean, he does come back as Moradin, but we'll see what happens with Moradin.
Yeah. So he gave us that, and yes, The Dragon Reborn. Sorry, I mean, sorry. dad nabbit, The Great Hunt. The end of The Great Hunt is still probably, out of everything, having finished the book, that is my favorite ending. The ending of The Great Hunt. So he gave us that. He gave us that.
Even more than Lord of Chaos's ending with the Dumai's Wells.
Well, I was about ready to say the second is the Dumai's Wells battle. I mean, that was unbelievable. The first time we see the Ashman and everything, and the way, oh, sorry, I'm throwing my pen. The way Rand like bursts out of the box and everything, you know, that was incredible. He's just given us so many incredible moments. He's given us characters to cheer for. Like, for example, we even just said in this book, the part with Nynaeve and them all saying, you know, the Malkiel for the Termageddon and bringing out the banner and all the people rallying around. You had finally, you know, just these really, really cool moments that just kind of make you, you know, want to stand up and be patriotic for the world of the Wheel of Time. I just think that it was just good times, very good times. And it was really fun reading these for the first time. And a miracle. I still call it a miracle that I was not spoiled. I managed to avoid spoilers. So it really was that for me. So other good points. Well, you know, there's just loads of great moments. And as we said, you know, even the revenge that we talked about. So, yeah. Good times. But when you were talking about the that moment with Nynaeve and all that, it made me think about something that was in the Two Towers, the book. And I just wanted to kind of read this because, I mean, why do we care? I cared. You know, why do we care about this story? Why does it matter? So a little bit out of context, but when Sam says to Frodo, the brave things and the old things in songs, Mr. Frodo, adventures, as I used to call them, I used to think that they were things the wonderful folk of the stories went out and looked for because they wanted them, because they were exciting and life was a bit dull, a kind of sport, as you might say. But that's not the way of it with the tales that really mattered, or the ones that stay in the mind. Folk seem to have just landed in them, usually. Their paths were laid that way, as you put it. But I expect they had lots of chances, like us, of turning back, only they didn't. And if they had, we shouldn't know, because they'd have been forgotten. We hear about those as just went on, and not all to a good end, mind you, at least not to what folk inside a story, and not outside it, call a good end. You know, coming home and finding things all right, though not quite the same, like old Mr. Bilbo. But those aren't always the best tales to hear, though they may be the best tales to get landed in. So, I don't know. That's just such a great thing about what it is in this story. And I think that Robert Jordan was able to craft a story that mattered. And
yeah, that reminded me of you saying like they could have turned back, but they didn't, and all that, and they would have been forgotten. It makes me think of was it the Iliad with Achilles? Mm-hmm. Achilles had to make a choice. Achilles would either go to war, get glory, you know, live a short life, or he'd be an old man, be forgotten, stay behind and be forgotten. He ended up choosing the latter, and because of that, stories are told about him to this day.
Yeah, thousands of years later.
Except for Chris Nolan's Odyssey, which is garbage.
Yeah, that's not the real one, as we know. And shameless plug, I did do a thing about the original work, the Odyssey, on Saturday. Yes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and I always say that if a story makes you care, then that's a good story. And I will never get back that feeling of when I finished the second to last book of The Wheel of Time. And I realized I'm about ready to go into the last book. And I had written in The Prophet of the Dragons on his live stream, it's like, I'm about ready to start the last book. See you on the other side. I'm out of here. Because I had come this close to not being spoiled or anything. And it's like, I am going to finish this book. And so I kind of went radio silent until I finished it. And I finished it up not as fast as I wanted to because some things happened with family, but I finished it up in a week. But I could have, my actual reading time, it was probably a, a day. I mean, I read like a mofo, and that that is the excitement to me of what makes a good story. And I don't know, they inspire us. I had the same feeling with the ending of Harry Potter. I well, of course, Lord of the Rings. I mean, that is just the pinnacle of everything. So you can't even compare. But
Did you know, this is going to make this whole thing even sadder, since this is, we're covering Robert Jordan's final book. Did you know that he was planning to write a new epic fantasy series after Wheel of Time?
no, I did not. I know that he had some of those prequels planned, but oh man,
So
oh
he was gonna write a new series after Wheel of Time. He was gonna call it Infinity of Heaven. and
mm.
and Infinity of Heaven. Have you ever seen Shogun? The
Oh
Red
hell yeah.
Shogun.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a Shogun type of story where a guy gets shipwrecked, and he ends up in an unfamiliar land and an unfamiliar culture, and the culture kind of resembles the Shanchan. And so the person who the family who that particular shipwreckee lands on is owned by them, and that's how the that's how the story begins, basically.
Wow.
And
Well,
that's something he was working on for like a decade before he taught, for like 12 to 13 years before he died. So this was something that he was thinking about while he was writing like Crown of Swords. So like that,
mm,
like back in the 90s.
just just a tragedy taken too soon. I shameless plug also did a biography of him, especially when you consider the dude also, he lived through Vietnam and all of that. And yeah,
Yeah,
and
he lived through Vietnam. Then he was like, I mean, if you ever watch any of Harriet, any interviews with Harriet, um, she says, she says, like, he went to school. He worked as an engineer. He got hurt, and he spent a lot of time in the hospital. And he read books left and right, and he didn't like the direction that writers were going in. He's like, I can write better than this. And
mm,
so he had to start writing his own stuff, and he
yeah.
started writing. I think and of course we all know that he started writing stuff for Tor Books, and he started dating Harriet, and Harriet was married before that, so she had a kid. So Robert Jordan didn't have any children of his own, but he ended up having a stepson, which was Harriet's son from a previous marriage. And from what she has said in an interview, and a lot of people don't believe me, uh, they bonded. Him and her son bonded over Star Trek: The Motion Picture back in 1979. Nobody believes me, but she said this herself in an interview, which I thought was hilarious, because everybody knows me as the Star Trek guy. So, and she kind of says in the interview, maybe that could have been considered our first date, or something
Huh.
like that. So, and that's kind of then he started writing the Conan books. He started writing the Conan books around the same time that Conan the Barbarian came out in 1982. so so he started writing those books, and then as he was writing those books, he came up with he was working out Wheel of Time, and mapping out the Wheel of Time, basically. So, and then he's been publishing stuff for them, and then he started making $1 million a book. That's why the story slowed down to a crawl, because write a book, make $1 million. Why not?
Yeah. No, good. Good times, absolute good times. All right, well, what's going on with you? What's going on in your channel?
I don't know. Like I went and visited Dane, another one of the White Cloaks, and he's regularly on my Wheel of Time streams. I'm reading. He's writing his own fantasy series right now. A few of us have read it. I am currently reading his book. That's why I'm not reading Gathering Storm right now. I'm reading his book first.
Mhm.
And then me, him, and another channel, The Sword and the Pen. are going to be live on a Chilporial next week. So
Okay.
I have to finish his book before then. So I'm only about 30% of the way through, but it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. Um, he has 5 different points of view. He has 5 different points of view. So his book, his volume, his novel, that's first part of like 5, I think he told me. It's he divides it into 5 books, 5 act structure basically, and each book is a different point, a character point of view, and they're all kids basically, like young adults, teenagers in this world of, of politicking and magic, and um, you know there's orcs in the series, and it's very interesting, and it's very heavily inspired by Robert Jordan, by Tad Williams, Tolkien, real history.
Hmm.
His main, yeah. So there's a lot to it. So we're gonna be talking about his book, and probably the Wheel of Time, and that's it. And then I don't know. I'll have to think of a video to do. I'll have to think of something to do for a video. So
Sure. Now, is he self-publishing this?
no, what he told me is he's gonna wait until his series is done. That way he can make as many revisions as he wants. Because once you publish a book, you
Ah,
can't you can't really revise it
understood.
unless you're Tolkien. Unless you're Tolkien and you revise The Hobbit.
Yeah, I love the way he did that. By the way, he said that Bilbo told the wrong version, and finally Gandalf got it out of him. Yeah. Well, if you're Tolkien, you can. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing.
so yeah, like the whole riddles of the dark and
Yes,
the ring.
exactly.
Yeah,
And it's
so
like I thought that was clever the way he resolved that too. But okay, indeed.
same here,
Well,
same here.
hey, hey, and well, you know me, I'm a writer and have been an editor. If he wants me in on that, I wouldn't mind reading and giving feedback.
I'll message him, and I'll bring that up. I'll
Yeah,
message him. I'll bring that because he's been sending it around to different people
sure.
to critique and all
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
So
I'm a nonfiction writer, but same idea. Um, and good times. Wow, so much fun. Now, here on Miss Martin Muses, we're going to be continuing, believe it or not, with Wuthering Heights. I know it's been several months, but Wuthering Heights will be continued. More literature, more musings as they come upon me, more moments from the Lord of the Rings as they correspond to the calendar. I think I've got some things from Fellowship of the Ring and maybe some stuff from The Hobbit. Stieg and I are continuing with the Cowboy Campfire. It's going to be the Treasure of Sierra Madre next. And let's see, anything else? Not off the top of my head. If you're interested in my Catholic content, I now have a separate channel for that, Catholic Explaining. So if you're interested, go ahead and go over there and hear me Catholic explain to you. Going to be doing some more going through the encyclical from Pope Leo about AI. Also, going to be reviewing a child's book about a baby's book from the Summa Theologica, and maybe I will actually understand it since it's written for a baby, and many other fun stuff. And I always recommend to everyone, you don't have to have crap entertainment. You don't have to accept crap entertainment. Go and watch good stuff. If you have to go backwards, go backwards. Go and read The Wheel of Time, read good literature, whether it's fantasy, read the old stuff, go watch the original Star Treks. You are in the driver's seat, and don't ever let anyone try to shame you into watching something or supporting something that you don't want, like they tried to do with the whole Rings of Prime. They tried to shame us into watching it. It's like, listen, dude, you can't shame us into watching a TV show. Go off with that. Go away. So that's my advice to you from Aunt Teresa. So we're going to sign off. So it's up to Nordporial. I've got his thing here. And have a great day, everyone. Have a great day. And be certain to read The Wheel of Time and never, never let the bastards get you down.